Welcome back to Dead by Daylight, or more specifically, the Project W PTB, featuring Albert Wesker as the new killer. So, this is just sort of my general thoughts on the PTB. And I guess we'll just jump right in with the big cheese himself, Albert Wesker. I'm going to be completely honest, I wanted to hate Wesker. I wanted to think he was an unfun killer. I wanted to dislike him. But, I thought it was too much of a Saturday morning cartoon villain to really fit Dead by Daylight. And behavior made him work. Not only did they make him work, they also made him incredibly fun. The man is probably the best killer we've had in a long time. Not just in terms of, fun, but also power. Wesker, it's hard to judge what tier he's going to be. Obviously, it's BTB. There's going to be a lot of bug fixing because his power is very buggy. But I think he's got potential to be a solid A tier killer, which we haven't had an A tier killer since, what? Artist? You might be able to argue Dredge during Nightfall jumps to A, but I think Dredge's base kit is more of a high B. And yeah, and even then, I'd say Wesker's probably has the potential to be a high A tier killer, and it's just too satisfying. You know, you just run into a survivor and slam them against the wall, or just yeet. Really, just too much fun. It is way too hilarious. And it's honestly a really good power too, because it's very versatile. The low recovery means you can use it to quickly close the distance. The double dash sort of is like a mixture of Nurse and Demogorgon, if you will, which means that he can really play around some moves really weird, almost like Blight with two dashes. But even the first one's lethal. And you can hit people with other people, so that's an automatic S tier and fun. As for his perks, they are also actually pretty fun. So we have Superior Anatomy, which I didn't think this perk was going to be all that incredible. I really underrated this when the leaks were coming out. But good lord, that vaulting speed is kind of nutty. Pair it with Bamboozle, and there is no window loop that will hold you. Throw that onto a Myers or something, and you can just vault right after a survivor and get them down anyways. It's really a nasty combination. Awakened Awareness, I think it's a cool perk. I think it's a good perk. But I think it's kind of in poor taste right now. It kind of reminds me of back when Overcome came out. It was like the peak of people talking about the Shift W gameplay loop. Like, people were at the peak. This was the peak of complaining about Shift W, and that was when they decided to go ahead and release Overcome, which was a Shift W perk. This feels similarly tasteless because right now there's a huge issue with nurses running Starstruck. This is just going to make that even better. It's just the same vibe. Cool perk, terrible time to release it. And then Terminus. Terminus is a weird one. Basically, between the time the last gen is powered and the X gates are open, there's no healing allowed at all. This is actually really useful if you're looking for a potential endgame snowball, but you don't want to rely on, say, Hex No One Escapes Death, which is very understandable. Now, one thing I hear a lot of people talking about, obviously, is the synergy with No Way Out, which makes sense. No Way Out extends that time, which means there's more time that people can't be healed, yada yada yada. However, I think people are sleeping on the other synergy it has. Because Terminus requires the gates to be opened for people to be able to heal, bear in mind, it takes an extra 30 seconds after the open after the exit gates are open for the healing to be able to happen. I think you're going to see some killers pairing it with Blood Warden, because it encourages survivors to start the endgame collapse themselves, which is just beautiful. Overall, I think Wesker's perks are very solid. Like, something feels wrong, you know? We have a strong killer with good perks. What is this? The Blight? Actually, no, not even the Blight, because he only really had one good perk on release. Oof. And yeah, all of them, they've got great synergy. They're all going to be a lot of fun to experiment with. Now let's move over to the survivors, starting with Ada Wong. Ada, she looks fantastic. And actually, before I get into them, I just want to point out the new Jill and Claire models are great. They really did them justice with the reworks. I hate the new Jill portrait, but, you know, that's beside the point. I use custom portraits anyway. Anyways, Ada. Her perks are... There's something. So, reactive healing. This perk is just... It's bad. It is not good at all. There's no reason to ever run it outside of Adept. Because because it's missing progression. But at the same time, if it were like 35% of total progression, that would be kind of busted, so it's just kind of a lose-lose situation. Now, the other two perks are a lot better. Like, reactive healing is easily the worst perk in the entire chapter. There's not even a competition for that. Let's go ahead and look at the others. Low profile. This one, I think low profile just kind of needs a little something for throughout the game, because right now it's pretty much just there for the kind of person who's gonna just urban evade in corners and, you know, hold a key until the hatch is open. Yeah. Also, behavior, please stop.
Stop it. Get some help.
And finally we have Wiretap, which is a concerning perk to say the least. It is kind of busted to have that kind of information. Just, yeah, it's with no indication to the killer. The only thing I can say is thank goodness that it's not working with open-handed. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's intended. I think that Wiretap is already going to be disgusting in like 4-man swifts. You know, you get all 4 people to set up their wiretaps semi-close to each other, and the killer is forced to kick all of them, or else, and here's the big kicker, you cannot mind game if there's a wiretapped generator at all. You just have to brute force it, which is terrible for pretty much most killers that aren't straightforward, you know, chase monsters. And even then, some of them like going for mind games as well, so I think wiretap is a cool concept, but I think just being like, I don't know, there needs to be something after a few seconds of being in it that let the killer know, hey, you need to kick this. But that's just my opinion. It's, as long as it doesn't work with open-handed, it should be fine. I think it's going to be one of those perks that people sleep on. And now we have Rebecca Chambers. Ooh boy, if anyone scares me this chapter, it's Rebecca Chambers. So let's start with her weaker perk, Better Than New. It's just a tiny little boost to action speeds after healing someone. Lasts for a short time. It's not necessarily a great perk. It's not bad, but it's not great. I would like to see this buffed a little bit, but I'd also be hesitant because it does improve repairing. And now we have the 2 perks that are just a little concerning. So let's start with the more concerning of the 2, I guess. Hyperfocus. So this perk is, if you can hit great skill checks, you're just going to be able to rush gens even faster. It's kind of gross. Especially because it works so well with, like, stakeout. Just, ugh. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue at first. I think it's a perk that's going to kind of just exist for a little while. And then once people start getting really good with it, because right now there's no reason to go for greats, really. But once people start getting really good with the hyper focus, I don't see it staying the way it is. I think it's a cool idea, but I am concerned. And then finally we have Reassurance. I have so many mixed feelings about this perk. So on the one hand, it's fantastic because this is the best anti-camping perk in the entire game. And this counters every kind of camping, from proxying to just straight up turbo face camping. It is a very good perk. However, I think it needs some sort of extra limitation. Whether that's a considerably longer cooldown, whether that's just deactivating an endgame, or what I think is probably the best is just making it so that each survivor can only reassure like once per hook state. So, you know, you're on the hook, you know, either you only get one reassurance, or all three other people can reassure you on your first hook stage, but then they can't reassure you again until stage 2. I think that would probably be the best way to fix it, because right now, as it stands, it makes endgame just even more ridiculously annoying as killer, while at the same time, I can already see the bully squads keeping someone hostage on the hook and the killer just not caring. So yeah, this is just, it's a good perk, it's a healthy perk. It's got too much room to be abused, I think. So yeah, those are sort of my takes on the core content of the chapter. As for the RPD reworks, I am very mixed on those. Primarily because I genuinely think the palette generation is bugged. Because I swear, every time there was a palette, it was actually a double palette, like 2 palettes right next to each other. There's no way that can be right. I think what's going on is the palette spawning logic is bugged and it's just spawning every possible spawn. So, or at least I hope that's what's happening, because behavior, please. We do not need 2 god palettes right by each other. Like, it's bad enough on Gideon. They really did manage to make RPD worse if these double palettes are intended. But yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts on the Project WPTB, and I'll just let this match finish playing out.
Do you actually think you can defeat me?
Just getting started.
Is that all you have?
I shall release Ouroboros.
Playtime is over. I'm tired of wasting my time with you. I expected more from you.
Alright, I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Wesker coming out to live in a few weeks. I hope they really... I really hope they fix some of his weird collisions and janky cooldowns and his interactions with survivors and vaults. But if they do those, I really look forward to playing him a lot. Until next time, this has been Proselyte Primus.